stumbled on the plane, staggered in the wind, stood at a crossroad or two, cried to a river, swept to the sea, all just to get to you. I have jumped a yellow cab, hopped a rusty freight, sang till my lips turned blue.
Howdy, howdy. We are back with another beautiful episode of Cogdell Law Uncensored. With me always, producer Tommy in the back.
Producer Tommy in the back.
And of course, Dan the man. Dan, we started the episode with a beautiful little tune there. Can you tell us why and talk to us about that?
Yeah, that is the now late, great Joe Ely. Joe passed away on Tuesday, which sucks. He was 79 and a literal Texas singer-songwriter legend.
Tell us a little bit more. I know that you're walking these circles and connected to these guys, and you've shared stories off camera. But how did you know about Joe? Can you tell us a little bit about him?
Yeah, I mean, I met Joe too many years ago to remember. 1976, 1977. Joe was playing the frat house circuit in Austin back in the late 70s, where I was, at the frat house. And it was always a great night when we could afford Joe to come and play. Years later, I would strike up a friendship with who is now one of my closest friends and maybe the nicest person I know, Lyle Lovett. And Lyle and Joe and John Hyatt and Guy Clark sort of a singing troubadour quartet thing for years. About 10 years ago, maybe 12, we actually hired Joe to come play at our house in the Woodlands. A couple of times. You don't ever want to have shot pool with Joe. He would mop the floor. Joe was born in Amarillo. He spent a lot of time in Lubbock. He literally ran off and joined the circus as a kid. He and Jimmy Dale Gilmore and Butch Hancock formed the Flatlanders. He had played all over the world. He'd played with Bruce Springsteen, with James McMurtry, with The Clash, with Lyle, with John Hyatt, with Guy Clark. But Joe was just as down-to-earth and loving of a guy as you would ever meet, and we're going to miss him. He was just a special, special human being.
And, we talked about this prior as well. I do appreciate, Dan, that you give flowers to the people you came up with, and, not just individuals in the practice of law, but musicians and the different people who influenced you and you got to spend time with. I know you prepared some pictures as well. Can you talk us through these pics?
Yes. So that is Joe and Bruce, the boss. They were big fans of each other, played on each other's songs, played in each other's concerts. The picture on the right is Joe and Marie, his daughter, and Sharon, his lovely wife. But like I say, he was a special person.
That's really cool. Rest in peace, Joe, and shout out to the family. And, I'm going to be adding these songs to the playlist and keeping the legacy alive. Dan, when we drive down from Dallas to Houston, we always drive by these billboards with this big Fabio-looking guy who says we always win or something like that.
Win.
Tell me about this.
We push, you win. So if you've watched my podcast, listened to my clips, sometimes I rag on lawyers, some more than others, for their ads. But the push win guys they are ubiquitous there. And to be fair, not that I'm the advertising police, but their ads are at least clever. They're not offensive. They don't demean the profession in my view. Again, nobody cares what I think, but they're clever. So there was another win in Guyuen, but there's been a suitable replacement part win, who is Bob Wynn. And if you look at that picture, the one on the left, I'm 6 foot. And Bob just towers over me. But I was at Carrabba's the other night, and I knew Bob, and I was talking to Push, and they're like, can we get a picture with us? I'm like, I kind of trash. No, we don't care. But the interesting thing about Bob, the big guy, the Fabio-looking dude, Bob was number one in his class at LSU, valedictorian, an undergraduate, played for Nick Saban. That's hard to play for Nick Saban to be valedictorian of your class. He would go on to Loyola Law School. I think he was editor-in-chief of the Law Review. He's a very bright guy. He's not just a pretty picture. He's a very bright guy, but it was fun running into those guys.
That's awesome. That's the second person that you are in close contact with that played for Saban. You shared a story prior to a former client of yours. I thought it was a good story. Do you mind sharing it again?
Sure. I was asking Bob, actually, before he turned into Fabio Light, when he didn't have the hair. Shout out to Fabio and to Bob. But I asked Bob, I said, what was it like? Because you watch Nick these days, and I think you have a whole new appreciation for just what a great motivator and what a great people teacher he is. There's nobody I like listening to more in terms of football commentators. But anyway, I was asking Bob, what was it like to play for Saban? And he said it was very difficult. Saban had extremely high expectations, and you were on notice 24/7, 365. If you didn't do exactly what he wanted you to do, next man up. He didn't care. And I thought that was interesting. And then a few years later, I was representing Ricky Williams. Yeah, that Ricky Williams. On a matter you'll never guess what he was charged with, but he did get dismissed. And I asked the same question to Ricky. I said, "Who was your favorite coach?" A little different question. And he said, "That's easy. It was Nick Saban." And I said, "Why is that?" And he said, "Because Nick told you exactly what you were supposed to do, and as long as you did exactly what he told you to do, regardless of the outcome, if you were doing what he told you to do, it was golden." So I thought it was different, but hearing the same thing from different people, albeit through a different lens.
Yeah, totally. I mean, both former players. And Ricky Williams, like we said, he was always like a calm, cool, collected guy. Is that what he was like when you were working with him? Just chill?
Yeah, Ricky he's very calm, cool. He's not, like I said off camera earlier, he's kind of Willie-like, right? When you're around him,
Willie who?
Willie Nelson. Is there more than one Willie? And I'm guessing there may be one common thing between Ricky and Willie, but that's just a guess.
Yeah, that's what I wanted. So Dan, we are approaching Christmas here soon. Next week, and the holiday season is among us. It's festive always. I'd love to. Kind of hear some holiday jokes, maybe some holiday lawyer jokes.
Yeah, so I'm not saying these are the best jokes ever, but the only ones I could come up with on short notice. And so what do you call a lawyer who doesn't chase ambulances during the holiday season?
What is that?
Unemployed. Why did the lawyer bring a ladder to the Christmas party?
Why?
He heard drinks were on the house. What is the difference between a Dallas law firm Christmas party, and a Houston law firm Christmas party?
Tell me the difference.
The Dallas firms argue about who had the best decorations, and the Houston lawyers argue about which clients they should bill the time to.
It's funny because, we do spend some time and work with a lawyer out in Dallas as well, and maybe we'll get to that here in a bit. But can you one of his posts went a little viral talking about Houston versus Dallas. And we had a segment prior to that, Dan, where we talked about Houston lawyers versus Dallas lawyers. But I think in the nature of that, in-state rivalry, I'd love to hear a little bit more about your perspective between the two cities.
Yeah, well, first off, let's look at the numbers. I mean, Houston is 2.4 million people. Dallas is 1.3 million people. Both cities are growing quite quickly. The funny thing is now Dallas, and I heard this trope the other day from a friend of mine. He said, Dallas-Fort Worth is now, bigger than Houston. And it's funny because at no time in history has Dallas ever wanted to be associated with Fort Worth. But now, if they put them together, they suddenly, we're bigger than Houston. But Dallas-Fort Worth Metro has 8.3. Houston has 7.8. But, I think there are five reasons why Houston is a much better city than Dallas. The first is the eternal timestamp. I mean, this will always be associated with Houston. Houston, we have a problem on Apollo 13. We cured that problem. Dallas, the eternal timestamp for Dallas is November 22nd, 1963, which was, I remember that day like it was yesterday. So we got a better eternal timestamp than Dallas. Thing number two is the food scene. Houston is literally the most diverse city in America. You can get authentic cuisine from anywhere on the planet. We have 17 Michelin star rated restaurants. Dallas has two types of food, Tex-Mex and steakhouses. That's it. La Casina. Oh, really? Let's go to La Casina and get some Texas. I mean, good God, that's what they got. Thing number 3 is, in my view, Houston is the real deal and Dallas is the wannabe. Houston is actual Texas, oil refineries, humidity, diversity, grit. Dallas is just cosplaying as a northern city that dressed up or ended up down the south. Dallas wants you to be sophisticated. Houston doesn't give a fuck what you think. Reason number 4, we have the best medical care available in Houston. We have MD Anderson. We have Texas Heart Institute. I mean, Houston Medical Center is as good as it gets. And one thing that we do not have is that Dallas superiority complex. Well, I want to get to this clip by my criminal defense lawyer compadre here.
Anybody who lives in Houston has to. Nobody lives in Houston because they like it. Anybody who lives in Houston has to live in Houston. It's either because you're chained to family, or you're chained to the energy industry, or you're chained to some other type of debt or obligation, or probation or crime, or something like that. So I can understand why folks from Houston want to come to Dallas as often as possible. Or look, even Austin. Austin is nice. But yeah,
Stop it.
I've yet to meet any.
I don't know who this Sally Jesse Raphael glass-wearing motherfucker is, but does he really think that people want to live in Dallas? Give me a fucking break. It ain't Zermatt. It ain't Lake Cuomo. It ain't Aspen. Do you really think people want to live in Dallas? Take your goddamn bald head and hang out in Richardson and shut the fuck up.
Yo, shout out to Jeremy.
Hi, Jeremy. Dumbass.
We're Dallas people over here, so the rivalry, we stick with Dallas, but you made some really strong points there. I'm not going to lie. The food scene and just the diversity in Houston is awesome, but I know you spend a lot of time in Dallas as well.
I love Dallas. I love Dallas. I have great friends in Dallas. I would add that Dallas might have, Saban except my wife, might have more beautiful women on the whole than Houston. It's always been known for that. But this idea that people want to live in Dallas and people from Houston want to go to Dallas, not one time have I ever been at a gathering and had a bunch of Houstonians go, you know what? We want to go to Dallas. That's just absurd.
So I wanna tease Jeremy a little bit more and kind of go a little into the comment section here. But Brandon King says literally no one in Houston wants to go to Dallas.
He's right.
That's 3,000 likes almost. TikTok gold. Nobody I know in Houston ever goes to Dallas. Another one. Dallas attracts people like this. Never trust anybody who wears circle glasses. You wanna comment on Jeremy's choice of glasses a little bit?
He looks like does Sally Jesse Raphael know he stole her glasses? That's where it's come from.
That's fun. Shout out to Jeremy. So on top of the jokes and on top of the back and forth, it is holiday season, and with holiday season, Dan, comes holiday crimes. And who better than somebody who has to defend potential perpetrators and people, who partake in this activity than yourself to talk about. So, Dan, tell me about some holiday crimes and why you chose them.
I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of hate for this because I'm sorry. We probably shouldn't celebrate the birth of our Savior by talking about crimes. That having been said, there are some notorious crimes that are associated with Christmas, the most obvious of which, in my view, is Lacey Peterson. Lacey was 8 months pregnant on Christmas Eve of 2002. She went missing. As a lot of people that were around back then remember, Amber Fry, the massage therapist, of course she was a massage therapist, came forward and told her that Scott had told her earlier in the month that he was a widower and this would be the first Christmas without her. The bodies of Lacey and the unborn child were found in April. Scott was arrested in La Jolla with bleach blonde hair and $15,000 cash in his possession. He was convicted, given a life sentence. The LA Innocence Project is now representing Scott on a claim of actual innocence. Supposedly they're going to test a bloody mattress found in the van the day after Lacey disappeared and a strip of duct tape found on her. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I know right now he's sitting in a cage and has been for the past 20 years. The next case that I associate, at least, with Christmas time is the John Benet Ramsey case, which was equally as tragic. This was in 96. She was killed at age 6. Her body was found in the home basement about 7 hours after she'd been reported missing. Her skull was fractured and the garrote was tied around her neck.
Jeez.
Her death was ruled a homicide. The case generated huge worldwide publicity, primarily because she was one of those pageant girls.
Yeah.
And it was just the mother died. I think a few years back. There were media reports about how the police had mishandled the investigation. I think some Ramsey family members and friends filed defamation lawsuits, but it's still a cold case these 20 odd years later.
Dan, when a case is a cold case like this, is it because it had such media frenzy behind it that, and there's like almost like a fan base behind it that keeps a case alive? Like, why do people think that something can get solved 20 years down the line? Can you just walk me through that?
Yeah, there's always evolution in technology with respect to DNA and the like. We know far more about DNA in the year of our Lord 2025 than we did in 2000. There's actually a woman who I have a lot of respect for. Actually tried a couple of cases against, named Kelly Siegler. And Kelly has her own television show that deals with cold cases. Well, she'll go in and try to reopen them and try to prosecute those individuals that they finally found enough evidence to go after. So we might try to have Kelly on one day. She's got a lot of experience and is a fascinating gal.
Dan, if somebody comes to you with a case that is a cold case, but it gets resurface or reopen or whatever the vocabulary is, and they're like, hey, I'm getting sued again or I'm getting tried again for something, I need your help. Like, have you ever had that experience, or what's that like?
I only had one cold case in my life, truly cold case, where the incident happened, and I think 30 years later. This was an incident involving a child, and 30 years later they charged the mother with murder. And I was not allowed to get involved in the case. It happened in Missouri, and I'm not licensed in Missouri, but you can get licensed on what's called a pro hac vice basis, where if you file an application showing that you're in good standing in your state bar, it's common courtesy for a local judge to allow you to try or come in and try one case. In that particular case, it turned out that the judge who was presiding over that case was former law partners with the lawyer that I was going to represent, and the local judge would not grant my application to be admitted pro hac vice. So the case stayed with the original lawyer, and I never ended up coming in on it.
To carry on these holiday crimes, Sheriff Joe Ely.
Yeah, Arpaio, America's sheriff. So a bit of a controversial figure there in the Phoenix area. I did find it interesting that Sheriff Joe has 8,600 followers, which kind of blew me away. It makes me grateful to have you guys on our team, because we've been doing this for 7-8 months and got 250,000 followers between the two platforms. And Sheriff Joe, who's kind of a household name, he's got a smoking hot 8,600 followers. But among his other antics, the self-proclaimed toughest sheriff in America would play nonstop Christmas tunes starting Monday with Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, then bleed into Frosty the Snowman, and to make sure the Hispanics weren't left out, he would play Feliz Navidad 24/7, 365. The inmates sued 6 times, claiming that being forced to listen to the Christmas songs 12 hours a day was in violation of their civil and religious rights, and was cruel and unusual punishment under the Constitution. But United States District Judge disagreed, dismissed the case, and denying the claim for $250,000 in damages. I will add, unrelatedly, that it's been reported that Sheriff Joe, because he's the guy, if you'll remember, he had Tent City. He'd kept him outside. He made all the inmates wear pink, prison garb. I mean, all these demeaning issues. And while it got him reelected for a while, I've read reports where it cost that county in excess of $100 million, either in settlements or legal fees. So
Jesus.
Maybe being the toughest guy in the room isn't always the best idea for the economics of it. Maybe the saddest case around Christmas time was the Covina massacre. It was a Santa Claus shooter where a fellow by the name of Bruce Prado, who was 45 years old in 2008, he dressed up in a Santa Claus suit, entered property belonging to his former in-laws, and killed 9 people by shooting them or burning them. And it was the week after he and his wife had finalized their divorce. He was later found dead to self-inflicted gunshot wounds. So, Merry Christmas.
Damn, the Santa Claus shooter. Huh?
Yeah.
Is there a spike of certain types of crime during the holidays that you've noticed over the course of your career?
I haven't kept track of it, but I would think that domestic assault would certainly go up. It was not unusual. We had Ray Hunt on a couple of weeks back, and when I was a baby lawyer, we represented the Houston Police Officers Patrolmen's Union, and there were always, which in that situation, if a police officer discharged his firearm, the union would provide him a lawyer to advise him on whether or not to make a statement and what to put in that statement. I give you that backstory only to say that, I mean, every Christmas, every Thanksgiving, every 4th of July, around every holiday, there was some incident involving a dispute between a husband and a wife, or an uncle and a nephew. I mean, if you're in close quarters with your relatives, it's not unusual at all for some tempers to flare and people to get upset. So without looking at the evidence, anecdotally, I think disputes between family members are going to be on the increase because you're spending more time around family members in close quarters.
That makes sense. What about theft, robbery, people stealing because it's Christmas and they can't afford it? Any Grinch stole Christmas type situation?
I don't have any reason. I'm sure shoplifting and
the
all
petty
that
crimes, yeah.
petty crimes goes up, but that's not my zip code anymore, so I don't really know.
Well, you have prepared a pretty cool list, breaking down female trial lawyers. Not as many in the game as males, obviously, but the good ones are great. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I started thinking about this because there's a lot of female lawyers involved these days. Every year there are probably more, and I got a little hate for just loving on male lawyers. So I try to do some due diligence and figure out some, or cover some of the more prominent ones that I'm familiar with. So the 5 elite female trial lawyers I'd like to focus on today are Lisa Barron Blue, Leslie Abramson, Judy Clark, Nancy Gertner, and Pamela McKay. Let's take them one by one. So the first is Lisa Barron Blue. She's a Dallas gal. Lisa had a $262 million verdict against Ford. She had a $104 million verdict in a truck accident case. She's won over 200 cases with verdicts in excess of $1 million.
Wow.
That's some impressive stuff. She regularly works with actually 2 people that we've featured or talked about. One is Mark Lanier, who's a brilliant lawyer. She works quite frequently with Mark and with our boy Robert Hirschhorn, who don't tell anybody, but we're fixing to enter into a sponsorship deal with Robert and his AI jury selection and focus group tool, VHS. But Lisa's a sweet woman, brilliant gal, and really probably doesn't get enough recognition for what she does.
Awesome.
I loved watching Leslie Abramson in trial in the Menendez case. That stuff was covered on Court TV. She was just as tough as the back end of a shooting gallery. I mean, she took no guff from anyone. She was with the LA County PD's office for 6 years. She had represented a Pakistani-born gynecologist accused of strangling and dismembering his 11-year-old son.
Jesus.
She was twice named Trial Lawyer of the Year by the LA Criminal Courts Bar Association, and I thought she was just spectacular in the Menendez case. She's retired now, but just one hell of a lawyer. Judy Clark, dude, I mean, she defended Ted Kaczynski.
Shit.
She defended Eric Rudolph. She defended Zacharias Musai, one of the 9/11 suspects. She defended Dzhokhar Tasaraev, the Boston Marathon bomber. She is a brilliant case law loving strategist. I put Judy in a courtroom against anybody. She's just an incredibly impressive lawyer.
And Dan, can you like better help our not legal audience because they're educated enough to understand this, but just the broader audience on the reasons why you're listing these cases for Judy? Because it's not necessarily about the people, right? Because everyone always jumps to, oh, I can't believe she represented those people, she must be bad. But the reason why, as another lawyer, you find it impressive is behind the challenges of cases like that?
Because the odds of success in those types of cases are infinitesimal. The reason I'm focusing on Judy Clark, and particularly in those cases, is being, in the trenches as I am, I recognize that the odds of success in a Ted Kaczynski or Eric Rudolph case are infinitesimal. I mean, you are just, it is extremely difficult. And to be able to shoulder the burden of those types of cases as a female, and I say that not in derogation, but in praise of, I mean, she's already, look, it's a good old boy network. It's changed a little bit, but not a lot. The vast majority of prosecutors are still male. The vast majority of judges, although it's changing, are male. The vast majority of, people to assist or help you along the way up were males. And a woman like Judy Clark, she's a true pioneer in every sense of the word. She's incredibly impressive.
Oh, yeah.
Pamela McKay.
It's Nancy.
I'm sorry, Nancy Gertner. She was a former U.S. federal judge who built her career around standing up for women's rights, civil liberties, and justice for everyone. She was appointed to the federal bench in Massachusetts by President Clinton. She was very active in sort of shaping the contours in a positive way around the sentencing guidelines. She retired from the bench in 2011 to teach at Harvard Law School, but hell of a lawyer, hell of a judge, hell of a professor.
Yeah.
Pamela McKay, she's a Denver lawyer. She was most recognized probably for successfully representing Kobe Bryant. She's retired now, but her tagline was the pit bull who wears pearls, which is just, that's a wonderful tagline. I mean, I'd almost transition if I could get that tagline. Just kidding. But a fierce advocate.
How, from your analysis, was she able to be successful, if you can recall, on that Kobe Bryant? Like, what stuck out on her approach that helped, land a successful verdict?
I don't know her personally. I have seen her speak, and I have watched some of her work. But I think the thing about Pamela McKay that I admired so much, and kind of like along the same lines as Leslie Abramson, there's just no reversing her transmission. I mean, once she gets pointed at something, she ain't gonna stop. And it's think about this. It's very difficult for a woman. It's a very thin line for a woman in a courtroom between being aggressive and being hard charging and being a bitch, right? There's no parallel word for bitch in a man, right? A man can get away with pushing things too hard, right? Much more than women can. So not only do they have the challenges of coming up through a male-dominated system, they have the sort of double standard of if they act like a man or they're just aggressive, they're no longer just an aggressive lawyer who's fighting zealously for their client. They're a bitch. But both Pamela and both McKay and Abramson, they walked that line beautifully. I mean, I just shook my head with appreciation at how they were able to pull that off in a seamless way and not come across as a bitch. They came across as what they were, an incredibly gifted, effective, talented, hardworking lawyer.
A pit bull who wears pearls.
A pit bull who wears pearls. That's just awesome.
Hell yeah. Okay, Dan, tell us about this porch pirate and these porch bombs. I think there's a hyperlink here. Maybe I can...
There is. So stop for a second, Tommy. Let's see if we can get this porch.
So, Dan, tell us about these porch pirates. I know there's a prepared clip. You want me to start with this clip?
Yeah. All right, so you get the idea. I
Yeah.
love watching those things. I just soon watch porch pirates getting blown up as landman. I just there's something. I'm so infantile. I just think that's hilarious. But here's the problem. First off, porch pirates are everywhere. Second off, I've had more than one person come up to me and say, "Hey, man, have you seen those bombs on porch pirates? Can we do that?" And the short answer is no. You cannot, particularly in Texas, because in Texas, even the glitter bombs, there's such a thing called the booby trap doctrine. And Texas follows a general rule in common law that booby traps are illegal, even if they're on your own property. The rationale is, of course, that the booby trap can't distinguish between a thief and an innocent person, a mailman, a kid retrieving a ball, or whatever. So if you have a glitter bomb in Texas, you can face deadly conduct charges. If the device recklessly places someone in imminent danger of serious bodily injury under the 2205 of the Penal Code, you could get charged with that. You could get charged with assault. If it causes bodily injury, even glitter in the eyes could theoretically qualify. You could be charged with terroristic threat if it could be construed as someone in fear of placing someone in fear of imminent serious bodily injury. You could be charged with reckless damage or destruction. You could be charged with federal issues. Anything that could be construed as an explosive device or incendiary device could charge could bring federal charges. So don't do it. The practical reality is, as much fun as it sounds, it can raise all kinds of issues. It can create criminal liability, and it could create civil liability. What they don't show you on those glitter bombs blowing up is a lot of those on YouTube and so forth were at the hand of a guy named Mark Rober. But he was often working with polices. The devices were GPS tracked, he probably has the cover of law enforcement sanctioning it, but don't do it on your own. So there are better options out there: video surveillance, GPS trackers, working with police, or even civil theft. Same. So as funny as the porch pirate blowing up is, don't try those at home, kid.
So tell us about these bizarre Christmas traditions.
So I got to thinking, it's the Christmas time, and me being me, I was thinking about, let's look into whatever bizarre and unusual Christmas traditions there are. So I Googled around, clawed around, and chat GBT'd around, and here's what we got. The first is Krampus, which is prominent in Austria and Germany. It's a demonic half-goat creature, which is Santa's evil counterpart that punishes naughty children before Christmas, which is fucking awesome. I just love the idea of this. So on December 5th, people dressed in devil costumes and roam the streets in Austria and Germany with chains and baskets, supposedly for abducting bad children and sending them to hell. I mean, the contrast with Santa Claus and Krampus is just awesome.
Yeah, Krampus is fucking scary. There's movies about this, and it's like horror films. That's hilarious.
So the second is pretty cool, but Trump may bomb Venezuela out of existence. I don't know with all that. But in Venezuela, it's on Christmas Eve or Christmas morning. It's customary to roller skate to early morning Christmas church services. Roads are actually closed from 8 a.m. to provide safe passage. And the legend has it that children sleep with one skate lace tied to their toe, the other end dangling out the window, so the friends can wake them with a tug. I mean, we're a pretty boring country. We don't have any good shit like this going
Caracas. On. Okay, tell us about the one in Spain.
Yeah. Well, this ain't that good of shit, no pun intended. So this is called the Cagner. Cagner? It's in Catalonia, Spain. It's in nativity scenes in Catalonia include a figure called the Cagner, which is literally the shitter. A man with his pants down caught defecating tucked into a corner of the nativity scene. He wears traditional Catalan clothing, but apparently now comes with celebrity versions. But the explanation given is it represents fertilizing the earth to make it fertile and bring joy at Christmas. That's a new one on me. But here we go.
That's the shitter.
The shitter. The fourth is Iceland's Yule Lads. Instead of one Santa, and Icelandic children get 13 mischievous trolls with names like Doorway Sniffer, Spoon Licker, Sausage Swiper, and Window Peeper. Kids leave their shoes in bedroom windows, and each Yule Lad visits on different nights, leaving gifts for good kids or rotting potatoes for bad ones. It's something we ain't got over here. The last but not least is the KFC Christmas dinner in Japan. So in 1970, a marketing campaign in Japan convinced Japanese families that fried chicken was the traditional American Christmas fare. So now people make KFC reservations for Christmas Day in Japan. The slogan "Kentucky for Christmas" created a tradition where Colonel Sanders effectively became a Santa doppelganger, and this is the intersection of peak capitalism with holiday tradition.